Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Real Hawks Talk podcast. I am Kyle or VTech, which whenever you want to work with. Now, I am recording this uh, the night after the Hawks lost to Winnipeg on Monday. So what I wrote down kind of doesn't really matter due to tonight. Colorado beat Edmonton to go up 8 points on the Hawks. So the Hawks are eliminated from playoff contention. But I'll still kind of get into what I kind of wrote down. It's just having a lot going on in personal life, and just kind of the loss in overtime kind of put me in a different mode, and I wasn't really wanting to put out a podcast right away, and also kind of want to see what the Colorado game was going to turn out to. But anyways, going into April 1st, Chicago Blackhawks are 34, 33, and 11. Now that's 12 at the end of that. But they faced Winnipeg, who is 45, 29, and 4, and now is 46, 29, and 4. At the United Center, Winnipeg is tied with Nashville for first place in the Central Division and has a 2-point lead over St. Louis. They have lost three straight games, coming off a 5-1 or 5-1 and 0 6 games prior. They are trying to avoid a season-long losing streak of 4 games. Chicago is 2-3-2 in the past 7 games, and you can make that 2-3-3 in the past 8 games. The accumulation here was if they lost in regulation and Colorado got at least 1 point, Chicago will be eliminated. But now we know that they have been eliminated just to Colorado winning. They only needed 1 point really to seal the deal. But it would have been nice if the Hawks would have gotten at least 2 points out of the game against Winnipeg, and I think they would have had a little leeway. I think if Colorado were to lose in overtime, I think they would have been fine. So that that kind of eliminates all of that. But the players to watch in this game were Connor Hellebuck, their goalie, who was 2-3-0 in his past 6 games. I want to say it's 5 games. I don't know why I have 6. I might have miscounted unless he got pulled in one of the games and it didn't go on his record. But its goals against was a 2.36 and a save percentage of .937, and he also in those 2 wins were the shutouts that he had. He had 2 shutouts. Alex Brinkett was the player to watch for the Hawks. 3 goals in his past 2 games, and has 41 goals on the year, tied with Patrick Kane, and also tied 4th on the NHL goal list. The starting goaltenders' stats were Corey Crawford, 37 games played, 14 wins, 18 losses, 4 overtime losses, 2.94 goals against, and a save percentage of .908. Connor Hellebuck played 60 games, 32 wins, 23 losses, 2 overtime losses, for a goals against of a 2.92 goals against, and a save percentage at .913. Going to the first period, Petrolot, I can't say his name, has a holding on Kane. This is a great way to start it out because the Hawks finally cash in a power play. Taves surpasses his career high, or ties his career. I think he surpassed his career high in goals in a season at 34. Gustafsson with the assist at 40, and Strome at 35. Just prior to that goal, actually, Crawford had to make a great save on Byfuglien, on the shorthanded attempt. Great stop by him. Then at 10 minutes and 49 seconds into the first period, Laurie scores his 12th, assisted by Tervin his 15th, and Myers his 21st. It was a short side goal. There was people there. Crawford was kind of down as his default, and I think it was a weak goal in anyone's really mind. It was kind of a weak goal, and he should have he had 2 goals in this game against him that I could say, okay, yeah, it was kind of his fault, but yet again wasn't. To a certain standpoint, you can disagree with me on that one. But more of the second goal he gave up on the night, when we get into that, I think it wasn't so much a bad choice. It was a bad choice on what he did, but at that moment in time, it was probably the right choice. But like I said, it should have been stopped. But all the goals that Crawford got beat by, except the one, were all above him, and they were perfect shots. I mean, there was a scenario. I'll get more into that when I get to that portion of the podcast. But then at 12:13, Duncan Keith gets a tripping on Ehlers. Penalty kills killed it off. They had a perfect night, especially with the stupid amount of penalties that happened in this game. They did perfect. And then this was the goal that I was talking about. At 19 minutes and 26 seconds in, Roosevelt scores his 8th unassisted. So leading up to this, Forsling comes back, and he tries to steal the puck from Roosevelt, and he kind of gets countered in the steal, and he was down on the red line, and there was, I forget who was in front of the net, but was sitting in front of that net, and Crawford, it was such a split second reaction. He thought that puck, since I want to say, since the puck was so far behind, it wasn't far behind, but he was on an even playing field with the red line, and Crawford goes out to try and stop the pass, but it wasn't a pass, it was a shot, and it goes in off of Crawford into the back of the net. At that point, you can say, okay, well, Crawford should have stayed home. But when you look at it, do you really blame him? And I'll leave that in discussion down in the comment section below. What you think, if that was a bad choice for going that pass, or should he have, standed his ground there on the post? But my thing is, if he would have stood his ground, right, and it was going to end up being a pass, right, the puck probably would have been in the back of the net. Now, you also have, well, if it ends up being a pass, you can poke check it. You can try and poke check it, but it's all hearsay. I mean, it's just one of those things that happen. And I'm not saying, Crawford played very, very well in this game. I know. This game, the Hawks should have never gone to overtime in this game. When I go through the statistics of the game, I'll explain a little bit more of that, but they found a way and a will to get at least 1 point out of the game, and that's something that I'll discuss as I was thinking throughout the day, a clutch factor, and I'll get into that, my thoughts on that. But the first period, there's a lot. I mean, the game is, at this point, even as far as penalties, shots on goal are about the same. Everything's kind of even here, and that's how I say at least the first period went. Winnipeg, they're a hard-hitting team. They're number 1 in the Central Division. Hawks haven't beat them yet. They just look. I mean, Winnipeg looks good. They look like a good team, and I think they'll make a push decently into the playoffs. And it's just, this year in the playoffs gonna be very interesting. I can't wait for that. Very excited for playoff hockey. But the first period stats: Chicago had 12 shots on goal, 55 in the faceoff percentage, one for one on the power play, 2 penalty minutes, 5 hits, 3 block shots, 3 giveaways, 2 takeaways. Winnipeg had 9 shots on goal, 45% in the faceoff. 0 for 1 on the power play, 2 penalty minutes, 7 hits, 5 block shots, 3 giveaways, and 6 takeaways. And that's another. The takeaways are going to be a big key factor into this game. Because it ends up being lopsided. But right here, you basically see it's basically even. I mean, Chicago has more shots on goal. Connor Hellebuyck's playing really good. Crawford's playing in, I believe, his 13th game straight in a row, coming back from injury, basically. He does look locked in, and this is the first time in a long time that the Hawks gave up more than really a goal in the first period, let alone 2 goals. So there's a lot that's riding on this, but the team, kind of finds its way through. But then going into the second period, 40 seconds in, Taves gets a tripping on Scheifele. Scheifele? No, there you go, Scheifele. And it results in a penalty shot. And Scheifele, this is his first career ever doing a penalty shot, and he doesn't try to dazzle and wow the crowd. He shoots 5-hole on Crawford, and Crawford soaks it up. And that's what I was going into. Eddie Olczyk saying, Crawford's one of those guys that, a lot of times he gets beat on, at least in a shootout or a penalty shot. It's not the people that take the puck and go backhand, forehand, and shoot the puck 5-hole, whatever. He normally stops those. It's the people like the Patrick Kanes, the guys that can really stick handle very well. He is a tough person to beat without being fancy. He tracks the puck very well. I understand that he gives up 2 goals already. It's one of those weird things that happen, and you just kind of, okay, it's the puck luck is kind of on their side a little bit. Just making the right decisions at the right time. But then, like 10 seconds after that, Gustafson gets a delay of game penalty at 50 seconds. The penalties kill it off, but they kill it off due to a penalty by Line slashing on Keith. It's 4-on-4 for 37 seconds. Hawks power play yet again fails. Like they had 37 seconds taken off of their power play. But then 5 minutes and 11 seconds into the second period, Rozovic gets his second of the ninth, his 9th on the year. Cope gets his 14th assist, and Perrault gets his 15th assist of the year. And this one right over Crawford's glove. There's 2 goals that he gave up high, and that's what he gives up. He gives up the high stuff. It was a perfectly placed shot. A lot of these shots are perfectly placed, and I know a bunch of you Crawford fans that are not so much Crawford fans, but people for some reason who don't like Crawford. It ranges from anywhere from him having concussion to he gives up weak goals. Okay, what goalie doesn't give up weak goals? When you really look back, right? I want you to really put it in your heads, right? I want you to look at the statistics, look at everything that goes on. All right, I just want you to look at that and say, well, and really watch the games as well. Because, yes, the Hawks are down 3-1 at this point. It's still early. There's plenty of time left. But you really have to look at it and say, wow, the saves that he's made, this game could be 10-1. You really have to break it down. You really have to look at it. You don't you don't realize how much it makes it different when you look at stats. All right, every goalie is going to make a highlight reel. Every goalie is going to do something that's like, wow, that was a good save. Every goalie has that once, twice a game. But when he's doing it once, twice, 3 times in a single period, and with the defense they've been having, well, you got to look at it and say, well, okay, well, you say, well, Cam Moore's had saves like that, or Colin Delia's had saves like that. Colin Delia, yeah, he's athletic. He's going to make those crazy saves. He's going to make those good saves. He's athletic. He's young. He can do that. Cam Ward, he makes good saves, but they're not, for being a year older than Crawford. Crawford looks like a younger, like he's 24 again. But that's just something when you look at the statistics and you really break down the 3 goalies and say, when you look at the save percentage, when you look at the goals against percentage, shots that are faced and all that, and you really have to determine, okay, is Cam Ward, is Colin Delia really better than Corey Crawford? Corey Crawford won you 2 cups, people. He won you 2 cups. Cam Ward won 1 cup with Carolina, and that was his rookie year because the team was stacked. And not saying that the Hawks weren't stacked when they won the 2 Stanley Cups. All right? And also not doubting Ward because he has almost every goalie record Carolina had, whatever the goalie record, he mostly has those, right? But I want you to think about it. I want you to understand that even, going back to the 15th season and, that last game when they won the Stanley Cup in Game 6 at the United Center, guess who pitched a shutout? Corey Crawford. And I'm not saying he's not pitching as many, shutouts because the defense isn't there. You can't always rely on Crawford making a save every night, okay? A good goalie, I would say, has at least 5 to 6 shutouts a year. Crawford's only played half of that year, maybe less than half that year, and he has 2 with the defense that's been going on. No other goalie with the Blackhawks has a shutout. Okay, I want you to put that in your minds real quick. Put that in your mind. I know I'm going sidetracked, but it's really it pains me when people look at a goalie who's won you 2 Stanley Cups and say, well, he's bad. Okay? What really irritates me more is when someone says Cam Ward's better. Is he though? Is he really better? So I'm not going to downplay Colin Delia because I'm excited when he's going to step into that role. He's going to be our next starting goalie. He is going to be the one to watch, and I wholeheartedly believe he will do very good for us. He will be a great goaltender, and we just need to get the offensive defensive power around him, and we can win more cups. And I'm not saying he couldn't be the next big time goalie. I'm not saying he can't be the next Jonathan Quick. He's not, a Hendrik Lundqvist, all right? But we're going to have to give him time. I'm not going to doubt him, right? Cam Ward, bye. You're gone after this year. Corey Crawford still got 3 years left on his contract. We're going to have him for 2 to 3 more years. Colin Delia can set in that backup role, learn, get experience. He still has plenty of years in the league to play, okay? He'll be perfectly fine. He'll be just getting into his prime when we get him and all that. It's going to be a good time. But then going into just a little bit after that, about a minute so after that, Strome scores his 8th of the year, assisted by Kajula at his 8th of the year, and Gustafsson gets his 41st of the year. And I think Strome actually has more goals than that. For some reason, I'm an idiot and wrote it down wrong. So, let me double check on that. My quite apologies. Okay, that was his 18th, not his 8th. That sounded wrong to me because I remember I wrote it. So I apologize. That was his 18th of the year. I misspoke. That was also his first of the game. Then at 11:40, penalty, Forsling holds on Andrew Cope. And actually, let's go back to the goal by Strome. So I think it was Kajula who tried to pass the puck to Kane, and it ends up going off the board. It looked from where I was watching, it went off of Crawford or off of Kane's stick. He was trying to stick handle and he kind of lost it, but Strome comes in and sweeps it and scores. So the Hawks are only down by 1 after this. Andrew Cope gets a penalty, or doesn't get it, but Forsling gets a holding on Andrew Cope. Penalty killers kill it off, looking good again. Then at 18:36, Wheeler gets a high sticking on DeBrincat. Second period ends. The shots on goal, Chicago had 7. Face-off percentage was 44.4. Power play was 1 for 3. Penalty minutes was 6. Hits were 13. Block shots were 8. Giveaways were 6. And takeaways were 7. Winnipeg had 14 shots on goal. 54.1. That's off. That math is off. Power play 0 for 3. 6 penalty minutes. 11 hits, 13 block shots, 4 giveaways, and 11 takeaways. So at this point, Winnipeg's starting to really put the pressure on. A lot more bigger hits, a lot more going on, and that's something that with a young team that the Hawks have, I think that they don't know how to handle heavy hitting teams like they are right now, how they're facing. I mean, that's what the Western Conference is known for, is the heavy hitting, not so much the speed. But they're gonna face these teams, especially coming off of a game from LA, who are heavy hitters. It's just something that they're gonna have to work around, try to fix for next year. But then going into the third period, they have 36 seconds left. They don't convert on anything. Penalty on Gustafson hooking on Ehlers. Penalty kills it off. So they were 4 for 4, and that I was shocked. I was completely shocked that the Hawks killed off all penalties, especially with the Winnipeg team that was scoring goals. They looked good. They were clearing the puck. They were getting that bounces they need. They had a couple shorthanded opportunities, but it looked good. So we're coming down, right? Coming down, and the Hawks can't get the puck out of their zone in the third period here. And at this point, it was undoubtable that Winnipeg was going to score a goal. Well, Scheifele scores a goal, and at this point I'm like, well, it was a good run, all this and that, and then I believe it was Pat Foley said, wait, they're waiting for Jeremy Collington to challenge it. I'm thinking, all right, it can't be goalie interference. It's got to be offside, but the play looked onside to me when it came in, and I don't like the rule with the offside. I get it if they're in the zone, but if they're in the zone for 2-3 minutes at a time, and I guess it was only 14 seconds, but I think that it should be, if it's offside, that a play shouldn't be reviewed if there's a shot on goal prior. So I may be sounding a little weird here, but hear me out. Okay. A team that's getting 3 or 4 shots on goal. All right. So the initial rush, right? The initial rush, they go down, they shoot the puck, goalie stops it. Right? It stops. Goalie stopped it. Yes, the play's still going, but the goalie stops that initial rush. Now, yes, did they come in offside? But if the goalie stops the initial rush that stops that puck, right, it's a different play now. It's not the same. It's a different play. Now, if they were in there passing the puck around and they shoot the goal and they get a goal, okay, that's fine. But I think if a goalie stops the puck one time, it's not a change of possession, but it's still a different scenario. Okay, they tried their shot, it didn't work. If you think I'm crazy or stupid, don't be afraid. Comment down below saying, hey, you're a freaking moron. And I get it. That's just my viewing. It worked out in the Hawks' favor, yes. But it's just one of those, they was in the zone for a long time. And the Hawks should have got the puck out. And Crawford was making great saves. But just at the end of it, I mean, you could say Crawford could have poke checked him, could have done anything. Well, anyways, long story short, it gets reversed. All right? It gets reversed. All right? Hawks are still down 3-2. Not an issue. A little bit after that, at 17:40, Dylan Strome scores his second of the game. 19th of the year. Jonathan Toews with the assist, his 44th. Hank Gustin with his 42nd. Just a beautiful goal. Working, Strome was feeling it. He was looking good. Fine, getting that going. And that was something that the Hawks weren't getting. They weren't getting that. Those other, the Strome, you're not getting him scoring goals. He finally scores, so that was not to say, hey, all right, he scores his second, you get a little bit going in. And at this point, I'm like, oh yes, we're going to overtime. I guarantee you, Winnipeg is down, and then you're like, shit, how did we give this up? At 1947, Kajula and Bufflin get into a fight, but prior to the third period, I was watching the Colorado Nashville game, and that was an intense game there at the end. I had a feeling that's what it was going to turn into, was a very intense little bit, because the last, so I would say from 10 minutes into about 4 minutes in the Nashville Colorado game, into the third, the last 10 minutes, and then that last 3 minutes in between that span there, it was nonstop. There was no puck stops. It was just, they kept going back and forth, shooting. It was going crazy. And then I was looking to see, the Hawks were just about to start, but I wanted to see what was going to happen, because there was a minute or so left in the game. And Colorado just ends up tipping the puck in, and it goes in, and they end up losing in overtime. I didn't watch the overtime because the Hawks were obviously on. So back in my head, I'm like, all right, the Hawks gotta get 1 point. They get the 1 point, not an issue. Third period, shots on goal were 7-6. Chicago had 7. Winnipeg had 6. Then Hayes in OT scores an unassisted one, and this is the one that I think Crawford should have poke checked, but yet again, Saad was on him. There was another person that was on Hayes. Crawford, prior to that, had to make unbelievable saves. When I tell you the shots on goal here, right? You're gonna have to trust me on this one and say, yeah, Crawford did his best to try to keep them in this game, because this is a lot. It's a lot of shots to face when you face, maybe 12 to 14 in a period that's 20 minutes long. Yes, I understand it's a 3-on-3 situation, but that's why they made it 3-on-3, so people are going to score goals. So by the time you get to that higher number of shots on goal, you're going to end up, having a higher chance of winning. The shots on goal were 7-2. Winnipeg had 7 shots. So Crawford had to stop at least 6 really good shots, and he did. He had to shot. He was diving, sprawling. If you watched the game, you'd understand. If you didn't watch the game and you just whatever, you don't understand. But he had to make some saves, and I wish he would have poke checked it. But Hayes gets around 2 people, gets it on his forehand, and shoots the puck in. It goes in the back of the net. Not much you can do from there. The game stats, Chicago had 28 shots on goal, 44.4 in the faceoff dot, 1 for 3 on power plays, 13 penalty minutes, 20 hits, 13 block shots, 11 giveaways, 9 takeaways. Winnipeg had 38 shots on goal, 55.6 in the faceoff dot, 0 for 4 on power plays, 11 minutes in penalties, 23 hits, 18 block shots, 5 giveaways, and 17 takeaways. Right there. Those two last stats are very, very, very important. Okay? So, in total, the Hawks turned the puck over. All right? Yes, you can count the giveaways as a turnover. I'm counting the giveaways and takeaways. So the Hawks gave up the puck 11 times, and Winnipeg took the puck 17 times, for a total of 28 pucks that were in the Hawks' possession that could have been towards the net, should have been on the goal, or whatever the case may be, and they just gave it to Winnipeg. Okay? Winnipeg was out for blood after the first period. They were out. They were on it. They wanted it. They wanted to win more than the Hawks did. Now, you say, well, the Hawks tied it up. You're dang correct. They did tie it up. All right? That means the Hawks wanted a little bit there. But you get in overtime and you give up 7 shots versus your 2 shots. And prior to the LA game, it was 3-2 in shots, and the only reason you gave up that extra point was on a stupid penalty. You know, you showed that the power penalty kill can finally play, right? And that's been the thing. Was the penalty killers were doing I think personally were doing very good, except the 2 times Marcus Kruger screwed up and didn't get the puck all the way down. Okay? That's a screw up. The rest of those times were 5-on-3 goals against, and they were long, extended 5-on-3s, and they couldn't get the puck out. I understand that's the job of a goalie, or not, of the penalty killers, to get the puck down, but there's only so much that you can do when you're facing teams, hot, heavy teams that are going to score goals, who are going to, put the pressure on. That's going to happen, all right? But there's got to be... with the new format of the 3-on-3, you have to expect the Hawks to win almost every time they go into overtime. All right. Yes, some goalies are going to give up weak shots. Some goalies aren't. It's a scenario, but you still should have, at least, if they would have gone to a shootout, I think the Hawks would have had the upper hand, just because I think the offense of skill, ability on stick handling and scoring would have been a plus, because people were talking about Patrick Laine, oh my god, this guy's so good, blah blah blah. Okay, he had 18 goals in 1 month. Good for him. The rest of the time he can't get past 5. All right, so with his high piece calmed down, he slowed down, so he's not. But you have two goal scorers that are up there past the 40s. You have one that's almost at 35, right? There's 3 people that are scoring most of your goals, all right? And those 3 people are in the shootout. So that's why I'm saying I think they have the upper edge in that. I think if it really came down to it, Crawford would have played really well in the shootout. Even if that, I think it would have been an extended shootout, whatever. But I just think the Hawks would have had the upper hand in that. But going into the goalie stats, Crawford was 34 of 38, a .895 save percentage, and 4 goals against. Connor Hellebuyck had 25 of 28, with a .93 save percentage and 3 goals against. Chicago individual leaders, time on ice was Eric Gustafson at 26.52. Shots on goal, Kruger, Taves, and Kane all had 4. Hits were Murphy, Hayden, and 60% in the face-off dot. Winnipeg's individual leaders, Bufflin was at 24-28 on total on ice. Shots on goal, Eller, Rozovic, and Laine all had 5. Hits, Bufflin had 6. Block shots were Chariot at 3. And at the face-off dot, Cope at 70%. Like I said, with me recording this on April 2nd, after the Edmonton and Colorado game. Colorado beats Edmonton, ultimately eliminating the Hawks from playoffs. They shot themselves. We were saying that, after what it was not getting the 2 points in LA, not winning those 2 games against Colorado, not winning that game against Arizona. Right now, if those were all wins, or a couple of, I would say if a couple of them were wins, all right, if Chicago beat Colorado in regulation and lost to them in overtime, okay, there's 3 points, only giving Colorado 1. At least beating Arizona in overtime, at least getting 1, getting 2 points out of that, only giving Arizona 1. Coming away with 2 points against LA, I think they should have came up with 2 points against Winnipeg, just because they kind of had that momentum that sparked towards the end of the game. But when you look back at the season, okay, you count the slow start in, but if you get rid of all of that, just get rid of all the slowdown, you go towards that start when they were on that like eight game winning streak. Okay, when you really break that down, 4 main games. I have 4 main games, right? And it was in that span of the back-to-back against Arizona, or back-to-back against Colorado, then Arizona, right? Then LA. All right? Because they shouldn't have beaten San Jose, and they did. All right? But the LA won, right? Well, even if you go back to this, if you go back to some series, okay, they did not beat the Kings this year. Not in regulation, not in overtime. They did not get 2 points. I think they got 1 out of 6 points, maybe 2 out of 6 points on LA, on the worst team in the Western Conference. Okay, you need at least 1 more point out of that. But they should have gotten 2 points against LA. How do you go from beating Arizona 7-1 to not even scoring a goal? Right? When you look at it's that span, that weakest span right there, right after that 5-game winning streak, that is what cost you this year. That when it came down to crunch time, it showed us that there is no clutch factor. There is none. Not with this team. There's not such thing as a clutch factor. All right. Even if you can bring in the San Jose game, they're up 3-0. Crawford gives up a weak goal. Whip-de-freaking-do. He gives up a weak goal up by 3 in the first period. Whip-de-freaking-do. Who cares? It's 1 goal, not an issue. But nope, defense wants to play like crap. Thank God the offense was there. Right? But you need to win games. The offense doesn't want to show up. They don't want to show up in key games. And when the defense does. Or when the offense shows there's no clutch factor. There's no one, you had Kane. You're gonna drive Kane all the way through. You're gonna ride. He's gonna carry the team on his back. He's gonna score 3-4 goals a night, or he's gonna get 3-4 points a night, or whatever the case may be. We're gonna take him all the way to the end. Newsflash: he's only 1 person, right? So you're saying that ultimately 1 person can single-handedly win you into the playoffs, right? 1 person. All right, and I was thinking, yeah, you know what? That's a possibility. Hawks make the playoffs. Definitely all because of Patrick Kane. Well, guess what? When it comes down to time, guess who's tired and guess who's not picking up the slack? The rest of the team. Well, you got some that say, well, Alex DeBrincat, he has 41 goals. Yeah. He only has 74 points. Meanwhile, Patrick Kane has 60-something assists, and his 41 goals has over 100 points. Okay? Jonathan Toews, 34 goals in a season, his career high. He's 3rd in points. right? Who's after him? Who's the fourth person? Who's that fourth person that clicks in your head that you would say, that's the fourth person? I'll just go ahead and look it up for you real quick. I'll look it up and show you. You know, let's just kind of get into. All right, Brandon Saad. All right, so when you get into the goals here, okay, I'm looking right here on my phone. Patrick Kane 41, Alex DeBrincat at 41, Taves at 34. Who's next? Brandon Saad at 23. Who's after him? Dylan Strome at 19. Who's after him? Eric Gustin at 17. Brandon Pelini has 13. Dominic Hoons has 12. Drake, who, dang, I am so, my mouth's dry. You know who I'm talking about. Number 91. You know, has 11. Right? Then after that, it's Duncan Keith at 6th. All right. So let's just go around the bottom of the barrel here, right? And Dahlstrom doesn't score. He's a D-man, whatever. Sakura had so many opportunities. Pissed away. First line, pissed away, can't put in the back of the net, and that's why you're back down in Rockford. Who cares? You're out of the playoffs. You're back down in Rockford because you can't score goals in the NHL, and he should have been down there sooner if you asked me. He should have been. I was praying here. I was hoping, is that he should have been down there a lot sooner. All right. But, you look at, Hayden, just Chris Kunitz. Okay, he's a heavy hitter person, but he doesn't get a lot of heavy hits a night. He only has 4 goals. Marcus Kruger, God knows why we still have him on the team. Someone explain to me down in the comments below why we still have Marcus Kruger on the team. He only has 4 goals. He ain't doing anything for us. Right? Let's go into assists. All right? Kane has 64 assists. 20 more than Jonathan Toews does. All right? 22 more than Eric Gustafsson does. The fourth person is Dylan Strome at 35. Alex DeBrincat has 33. So, right? Alex DeBrincat, definite goal scorer. He is going to be a goal scorer. He ain't going to be a point scorer. If that makes any sense to you. The difference between Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane is Patrick Kane can score points. Alex DeBrincat can score goals. Right? And you can say that just because, I would say that Eric Gustafsson, he can score assists, right? You can say Jonathan Toews can as well as score assists, but when you look at goals to assist ratio, Eric Gustafsson has more assists than goals. I mean, everyone's going to end up probably having more assists than goals as it is, but Eric Gustafsson, he's going to be a good powerhouse. But I'm just saying that's going to be the difference between Alex DeBrincat and Patrick Kane is Kane can score points, DeBrincat can score goals. All right. If he can score points, if he can get more assists, if he can get up there in the 40s in assists, he's going to be a deadly player. He's going to be another Patrick Kane. But I don't see that coming in the near future right now. But, the assists are just, not there. Henry Harkey, God, you know who I'm talking about, the guy that got called down. He didn't even play most of the year, and he has 12 assists. All right? Connor Murphy, it's just Marcus Kruger's been playing all freaking year. He only has 8 freaking assists. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding? Like, there's no one here that's going to score for us. No one. No one wants to score. Right? And then when I look at the time on ice per game, Duncan Keith, Eric Gustafsson, and Patrick Kane are on the top 3. All over 22 minutes. When you play a forward for 22 minutes, he's going to get tired. Right? So that's why he didn't peak. That's why he's not, he's not a defense. He's a forward. And yes, sometimes he acts like a defenseman, but in the opposite role. Doesn't always cover in situations. But you know what are you gonna? He's an offensive player. That's what he's meant for. But then we'll go into goals against average. I want you to listen to this one very, very closely. All right, all you non-Corey Crawford fans. Crawford's goals against this year are a 2.96. Okay, next one under that. Yes, we only had 3, but Colin Delia at 3.61. All right. That's dang near. He gives up just a half more, not a half more, but that 0.5 more goals against. Cam Ward is rocking a 3.27, almost 1 more goal against than Corey Crawford. Okay. Wait, you know, that's something that's important, and you know, okay, let's go off of. All right, we'll go off of goal save percentage as well. Colin Delia at a .908 at number 1, Crawford at a .907. Cam Ward is at a .893. Now, I want you to this is where I'm going to cut some slack. All right, I'm going to cut a little bit of slack to both Colin Delia and Cam Ward. Okay. They faced a hell of a lot of shots. Just so many shots during a game, unbelievably crazy. Right? I get it, but the offense was there to back him up. Crawford has not had the offense to back him up. A save percentage. I enjoy the save percentage more than I do the goals against, because the goals against can turn into so many things. Because when you look at a goalie and say, okay, he gives up a .907 save percentage and only 2.96 goals against average, that means he's facing a lot of shots that he has to stop and only giving up maybe 2 to 3 goals a game. All right. But when you're rocking a .893 save percentage and rocking a 3.72, that's telling me, yeah, you're facing a lot of shots. You're not stopping a lot of them. That's what that's telling me. All right, and well, just the key example here is going to be Colin Delia. 3.61 goals against with a a .08 save percentage. He faced a lot of shots and he stopped. And that's the future, right? That's what I'm looking at. That's the future. And I'm not, he's played well and he just hasn't had I think if he had the defense behind him, I think he would have had one or two shutouts, this year. But that's just when I look at the wins. Corey Crawford's tied with Cam Ward at 14. Crawford was out all that time. He was splitting time with Colin Delia. They were winning those games. You would expect Cam Ward to step into the backup role and win him some games, and he did. He won 14, but Crawford was also out for 2 months, and Crawford comes back, and he's tied with him with 14 shutouts. Crawford's the only one with a shutout. So I'm kind of rambling on about that. It's starting to get down to time where you look at the little things and you look back on the season and you say, all right, this is what went on. But the last 3 games of the year are going to be Wednesday at 7 against St. Louis at home and Friday at 7:30 at home against Dallas. That is the last game of the season at the United Center. And the last game of the year for the Hawks in the 2018-2019 season is going to be at Nashville Saturday at 7 o'clock. After those games, after the season's over, I will be doing a overall stat here. Time on ice leader, most goals, most assists. I don't know if I'll be able to do all shots on goal. I'll try to break, most hits. Plus minus, who was the top plus guy, who was the top minus guy, Block shots are a big one. Face-off percentage. All the goalie stats, wins, losses, overtime losses, shutouts, all that. I'll be doing a whole bunch of that. And that's going to turn into just a weekly thing with the podcast, not just after games. It's just going to be, a weekly thing. If you are interested, if you've made it this far into, I know this is a very long one, out of normal, I could do I'm not going to say so much of a after every game of the playoffs, just because some of those games don't go till late, and I'm going to be going to school here shortly, starting April 9th, so I can't stay up as late to do all this stuff. So I could do something like that, but I'm also going to be doing a review on every single player that played. I would say at least 10 to 15 games with Chicago. If they have anything worth mentioning, I'll be reviewing their stats. I'll be reviewing what their production was for the year, what I think should be changed, if they should be on the team, if they should be used as trade value, if you should just let them go, whatever the case may be, or should you keep them? For keeping them, what they need to improve on, just basically just kind of a player analysis of everyone on the team. So if you enjoy the podcast, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also share with your friends if they enjoy hockey and want to listen to my podcast. Also, don't be afraid to tell me if I need to do something, change something different, do something different. I'm going to school for all of this. I'll be learning a lot more throughout the year that goes by, and then starting off into next year, starting off probably preseason, all that. I mean, I'll be, well ahead of, trying to get that going and understanding things a lot more. So yeah, if you are interested in video games or anything like that, I do stream live on Twitch. That'll be in the description down below. Also, follow me on Twitter when videos go up. Questions, comments, all that other good stuff, when I'll post that, or whatever the case may be. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, and hopefully catch you in the next podcast.